Hey there, everybody. Excited about today's webinar. Thanks, everyone, for joining here on this Thursday in January, wrapping up the month of January here, and excited for the next one. So today, we're going to be talking about social media, job advertising, how to maximize this going into 2025, how this compares to job boards like Indeed, and how you can not waste advertising dollars while doing it, but actually get real hires, qualified candidates through platforms like Facebook, Instagram. We're also going to be talking about TikTok. Really, the goal here today is to unveil the curtain and to show exactly how to do this, like the practical things to implement to get real success out of Facebook, Instagram, these social media platforms for job advertising. So a quick intro to myself. My name is Sam Byler. I am the co-founder and CEO of Boostpoint. Our mission at Boostpoint is to be the best in the world at targeted job advertising on social media platforms. So we are very passionate about this subject. I have over a decade's worth of marketing and advertising experience on social media platforms. This is kind of how I got my career started about 10, 15 years ago, was specifically like looking at social media for advertising. About 6 years ago, then I launched Boostpoint with my co-founder, Jared Neff, and we made this our mission is to build solutions around social media job advertising and enabling organizations to do this well. So, but we're not going to be talking about the product Boostpoint today. This is not a sales pitch. This is literally just unveiling the secrets, unveiling the curtain of like the things we've learned, whether you're implementing this, like looking to implement social media advertising yourself, your own teams, working with a partner to do so. This is just going to be a lot of education around the things to look out for and the things you should be looking to implement. So let's dive in. Let's dive in. So starting high level, like why social media, first, what we've seen is the way people are finding jobs is evolving, and that's evolving from, just searching on Google, searching on job sites for certain positions like, hey, I need a job. Let's go to Google. And really it's been evolving to, trying to get in front of passive job seekers and getting in front of them even maybe before they're searching for a new job. And that's where social media can come in. The reality is that 73% of people that are taking new jobs are passive job seekers, and we need to get in front of them before they're looking for their next opportunity. Diving into like what platforms. Let's talk platforms first. What should your platform strategy be when you're looking at 2025? A lot has changed with social media platforms, whether that's Facebook, TikTok's been in the news, LinkedIn. Like how should you pick the right platforms, to invest your advertising dollar to promote your job ads? So I'm going to go through a couple of them. So often, like LinkedIn is the first one that comes to people's minds when they think of social media and jobs, just because of the nature of LinkedIn is like a professional platform. There's content that's mostly related around businesses. What we found is like where LinkedIn really comes into play is especially for professional types of position, more like senior level, management, VP, executive types of positions, especially a great platform for recruiters to, do outbound, activity. But it's not the best platform for like job advertising where you're, paying advertising dollars to get in front of the right people, especially for the bulk of jobs out there. When you're looking at hourly positions, even like skilled trades, these people, they don't spend time scrolling through LinkedIn. And so, what platforms are they on? They're going to be on Facebook and Instagram are the main ones. Over 80% of the North American population still has an active Facebook account. And so when you look at the user base, you combine Facebook and Instagram, that's where the majority of users are. And they're spending on average 3 hours per day on social media platforms. So we focus where we've seen the best ROI. If you look at the past 12 months, it's specifically been Facebook and Instagram. So that's really where I suggest companies start when they're thinking about implementing social media job advertising, because that's where the bulk of the audiences, and that's where we're seeing the best ROI. Is Facebook and Instagram. So that's what we're going to spend most of our time on today, is going to be talking about Facebook and Instagram strategy, targeted job ads, how to do this well. Before we jump into that, I do want to I feel like TikTok is an honorable mention right now. And TikTok, there's been a lot in the news around TikTok lately. So I did want to touch on this just as a quick rabbit trail here, for those that might have questions around TikTok. So TikTok, yes, it was banned a week or two ago. I forget what the exact date was, but it was about a week ago. TikTok, it's been in the news for months prior. TikTok, this ban is coming. That did happen, and right now the status of TikTok is the app is live for those that had it downloaded on their phones before. So you can still use TikTok, but no new users as of this point can download the app. So basically what happened, there was a 75-day extension on what the long-term status of TikTok is going to be in the US. And so we're keeping close eyes on that. The app completely went down for about 12 to 24 hours, on the day that it was banned. But then it quickly got kicked back on, for those that had it previously downloaded. So, even right now, we have active campaigns on TikTok. TikTok is working for job advertising. We're actually seeing a little bit better results right here, right now than we did several months ago. So, advertising still really works on TikTok. The thing with TikTok is we don't know what the long-term status of TikTok is going to be. And so that's just something to watch out for. So I'm really advising companies okay, if you are looking to get into TikTok or you're currently investing into TikTok, make sure you also have other platforms within your strategy, just in case, we don't know what's going to happen with TikTok. And TikTok as a whole, we see, if you're looking cost per applicant or cost per hire, we tend to see a little bit better results on Facebook and Instagram, but TikTok is a way to get in front of a new audience. And so in that way, there's still a lot of value to it. But even if it goes away, social job advertising on social media is not ruined for your 2025 strategy. All right. So we talked about Facebook, Instagram platforms a little bit. We're going to move on to what's the main benefit? What should your key results that you're measuring, what should you measure with social media, and how should you determine that it's successful or not? Is it impressions? Is it employer brand? Is it candidates? What should your expectations for job advertising on social media actually be? I like to present this in a way again, most companies you're maybe already spending on job boards is usually the first place you're spending job advertising. That might be Indeed, ZipRecruiter, programmatic, but job board advertising spending. So I often like to try to compare it to that, because most companies have already a measurement structure around how we determine success on those other platforms. And you can bring some of that in to how you view social media. I usually like to, it's not quite like an apples to apples comparison, but it's, apples to oranges. It's still in the same category, but a couple of different metrics, as you're measuring success. The one thing I really like about social media that you don't see from job advertising platforms is you're getting high quality candidates if you're doing it right. And we'll talk about exactly how you do that, things to implement that you make sure you're getting high quality candidates from social media. So you can do that, and you should have measurement, whether that's cost per applicant, cost per hire, cost per qualified candidate, whatever unit you use to measure that, but you should be able to quantify it by candidates. So you get that from social media, but then you also get this huge employer branding benefit from it as well, because the impressions that you're getting on the platform, scrolling through Facebook, Instagram, people scrolling through Facebook and Instagram, they're seeing photos, videos, the content is more engaging than the impressions and the eyeballs you might get on Indeed or job platforms, where you're just another one of the job posts, on the screen, and it's all text, and you're just kind of another one of those job postings. Where on Facebook, Instagram, people are scrolling through the platform, and you're the only job that they're seeing, because you're just jumping in on their news feed, and you're not a part of, just a whole list of other job ads. So the impression and the branding is a higher impact on your social media advertising dollar versus what you might see on job boards. So those are the two main things that you should weigh value on. Primarily, usually, clients that we're working with, the main measurement of success though is like, okay, how many hires and how many, quality candidates are we getting from social? Like that is a key thing. If you're implementing social, you should be able to see those things. All right, let's jump in and talk about the how right now. Like, how do you do this? I'm going to be talking about three things specifically, three key things that's going to help you like not waste thousands of dollars on Facebook and Instagram ads, because like Meta is the company that owns Facebook and Instagram. So I often, kind of bundle them into one. But it's really easy, really easy to spend advertising dollars on Facebook and Instagram. There's one case study that we've done is looking at $10,000 worth of spend. This was a client we were working with on a particular position, healthcare positions, running campaigns. They had spent $10,000. They got no hires. And then we looked at like what we could optimize and everything. And we were able to make a bigger impact with $1,000 worth of spend that actually turned into hires versus the $10,000, that was spent. So it's like, okay, like there's a ton of impressions, like yes, on both of those. But when it actually came down to recruiting metrics, like quality candidates and hires, there was, because things were optimized correctly, we were able to spend 10% of the budget and get even more value than the $10,000 that were spent. So how do we keep that from happening, is like wasting advertising dollars on these platforms? So I'm going to talk about three key things that you want to make sure that you can implement. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here for a second and just jump into, sorry, I thought I had this open, and here we go. All right. Like what are we getting when we're talking about a Facebook ad? Like what do these actually look like? Here we go. All right. So I'm sharing my screen here. This is an example of what a Facebook ad looks like. And again, these show up like in either the news feed or someone scrolling through Reels. They'll see a video and then, the ad copy, the ad content. So what makes a good Facebook ad like visually? One of the main things is make sure you're explicitly advertising like a specific position versus just, maybe the brand, versus just like, hey, Boostpoint is hiring. Well, what position type are you hiring for? That's key. And make sure that that's implemented in the the headline of the ad, like right here, now hiring, RN position. It's very important to be explicit that like this is a hiring ad. Again, remember, people are scrolling through Facebook. It's not like they're on a job board, so you can't assume that they'll know that this is a job ad unless you tell them. So that's a big thing. Make sure you're using words like now hiring and the position title like in the headline. And then also whether you're using photo or video, we'll talk about that in a second as far as tips around videos and photos. But make sure that that's also like text on the screen, because some ad placements, like the headline isn't prevalent. And so people are only seeing like in Reels, Instagram Reels, people are really only seeing the video and the text in the video. So you have to make sure there's text in the video, text on the photo. Just make sure it doesn't overtake most of the screen. You get a little penalized if it's over 20% of like the space on the creative. All right, so headline, video, ad copy. The right approach to ad copy is you really want to look at this again, not as just like a job description. Like, please do not just copy and paste, the job description on your website and throw that into the copy of the Facebook ad. Really what you want to do is write this specifically for social media. The framework that we use is, the first paragraph, the first section of the ad. Think about like the main motivations speak to the main motivations of why someone would want be attracted to this position. So, this right here, making a real difference in someone's life. So it's not just jumping right to like, hey, this is the requirements of the position. No, like talk about, what would motivate a person to be attracted to this type of position. In the middle section here, this is usually where you'll want to put, the main benefits of the position. We really like to outline those in bullet points so they really stick out in the ad copy. And then the last paragraph is really the invitation to apply. And really inviting someone in to that. Ad copy does really matter. A lot of people are just like, oh, like the video, yes, it is a little more important. That's what stops the scroll, but the content, the words in your ad also really do matter. So let's go on. Like, what's next? So this is, I will say, this is where a lot of people stop. When they're looking at social media advertising. Is like, okay, you look at the creative and you put all your energy into that, and it's like, we love the video, we love the ad copy. Don't stop there, or you're not actually going to get candidates and applicants. One of the main things, this what I'm about to talk about is like, this is the most common mistake that I actually see in job ads on social media, and that's the conversion method. What is your CTA and where is that leading people to? Because you can capture the right person, stop the scroll, but wherever they're clicking to, once you actually have their attention, this is huge. This is where conversions actually happen. And this is where the real results lie. So this right here, so I'm on this ad, pops up in my Facebook feed. I'm like, hey, I'm an RN. I like this position. I'm going to click apply now. We love to leverage building like a quick apply experience right within the social media platform, where we're actually capturing the candidate data right within Facebook versus sending them to an external link. So most people, if they're running Facebook ads, the call to action, they're sending someone to their full application. Maybe that's a Workday application, on your website, your career site. If you're implementing that type of friction, you'll see very, very, very little conversion, unfortunately. And so really tailoring to the candidate experience for the application is huge here. And people handle this like different ways, different customers. Some look at this as a full application. Some look at this as like just a lead where they'll nurture the candidate then to capture a full application, because like you're not able to get a full resume, but you can get resume like information from this. So again, what is this exactly? Like, how does this work? So continuing on here, again, you see someone clicks on it and it's like a quick apply application. You can build in custom qualifying questions where, again, here's, we're asking if there's a current nursing license, yes and no. One of the things here that's extremely important as well is you can use this as qualification. So for instance, if someone says no to like a knockout question, you can deter them from applying for this specific position, and you can maybe just send them to your career site with a message that says, hey, sorry, this is a requirement for this position, go to our career site and, find another position that might work for you. And so it, like with this quick apply experience, it's not like you're just getting a ton of candidates that, really don't fit the criteria. You can still be very selective with the questions that you're asking and what you might use as knockout questions for this process. And you can ask up to 15 questions, I believe it is, within this form. So I could have one here. Again, could ask for the contact information, obviously, but I could layer in a number of questions depending on what type of position I'm hiring for. And through this is the specific thing, that the lever that gives you the most power for the qualification of your of your candidates coming through. Because there's often, when you look at quality versus quantity, that's usually a meter. And okay, more questions, usually you'll get higher quality, a little bit lower quantity. And so it's finding, what really works for, your positions and your recruitment team, and what the preference is there versus, quality versus quantity. I will say we are really encouraging people to focus more on quality versus quantity. Really, it's what do you really want as a TA team? You're not wanting 100, 200 candidates to sift through. Like, that's what's happening with Indeed right now. Like, you even have AI that's automatically applying for jobs on a lot of these sites. And you have just this huge quantity of candidates that you need to sift through. And it takes a lot of time. It takes so much time to do that. So we're really leaning more and more on let's ratchet up quality as much as we can. Just to save time for your recruitment team and make things more efficient. I will say another reason we're really encouraging that is because this is really where targeting comes into play as well. Trying to not to get too in the weeds. This is about the most detailed I usually get is around targeting, because it's fairly complicated, with the meta algorithm. But one thing that we have found that gives us the best ability to target the right candidate is, number one, you first have geography, obviously. But then really focusing on the conversion data that's coming through these applications, and the more you focus on quality there, is going to feed into the algorithm on the top to help funnel that into a more narrow audience. Like for example, I'll say on this RN example, there's I think there's about 180 million active users on Facebook in the US on a monthly basis. And so that's a huge audience that we can potentially target. If we're looking in the RN space, I think there's 3 to 5 million RNs in the US. And so that's a very small percentage of the total Facebook audience. So how do we make sure that we're not wasting advertising dollars to the millions of people, that are not RNs on Facebook? And how do we at least narrow that a little bit? The way that we've seen the most success is really focusing on quality, on the conversion, because what that does is that's the data that the Facebook algorithm then uses to go find more people like that, more people that have applied, find more people like that to show the ads to. It goes through the learning. That's the learning phase of the ad. After you launch it, the first several days, it really focuses on honing the audience, the learning of the audience. And that's the best way that we found to manipulate the Facebook targeting algorithm to get in front of the most the best audience on social media. All right. So we talked about the ad content. So again, just to kind of recap here, there's three things: your content, your conversion, and the targeting. I'm going to circle back up to content a little bit. I said I was going to dive a little bit deeper into videos, visually, what you should be focused on there, because I often say your content in social media really is your X factor when it comes to, getting the best ROI out of your advertising dollar. Content can be what makes a campaign fall flat, or, get a ton of views and a ton of applicants. It's really that multiplication factor. And what helps you spend your advertising dollars more efficient. The reason why is again, going back to the Facebook algorithm, if your ad is engaging and if your click-through rate is really high, basically Facebook notes that and is like, hey, this is a really high engaging ad. We like to engage our audience. Facebook's job is to keep more people on their platform engaged. And so they're going to show that ad to more people if your ad is engaging, versus if no one's engaging with your ad, your campaign metrics are going to be a lot softer. And you're not going to get in front of as many people with the same advertising dollar. So engaging content is extremely important on Meta. So we geek out on this, photos, videos, what performs best. And what we've seen, especially the last 3 to 6 months, is like UGC style, user generated, or like selfie style videos are what is performing best consistently on the platforms. I mean, a good rule of thumb, like Facebook really recommends, like, hey, you want a little bit of a variety of content. So if like you launch a campaign, you can have several pictures, several videos. And so like there is that recommendation to spread it out a little bit, but 90 to 95% of the time, most of our impressions, most of our candidates are coming through user generated UGC style videos, like I showed in that example of the ad. How do you generate those? That's been like one of the biggest challenges for companies, when they're looking at investing into social media, is like, where do I get video content like that? Right now, we're seeing video technology is advancing every day and extremely fast. And so we're going to show something that we've been testing here. We've currently have a beta leveraging AI for video content. So I'm excited to share some of this here and even like get real feedback. Feel free. I was supposed to note this at the beginning, but feel free. We have a Q&A that's going to be open. I'm going to get to that here in probably about 10 minutes or so. So we're going to have a live Q&A. So feel free to pull that up, add any questions that you want us to go over here at the end. And I'd love to even get feedback here, especially on this section here around video. Like what's the perception of video, people's comfort level with using AI, even in video, because it's really interesting stuff. And we're seeing really, really, really good performance with leveraging some of these technologies. So Sam, give me some examples. So let's dive into some of these examples here. Give me 1 second. Pull up the right file. All right. Here we go. All right, so this is an example right here of the types of videos that perform really well on social media. The interesting thing with this video right here is it's completely AI generated. Like this is not actually a real person. Right now, you can use text prompts to generate videos. And we're starting to experiment with this, and the technology is really fascinating. And right now we're seeing the performance is really, really good. I'll give a couple more examples, flip through some of these. Here we go. So here's some more examples. The interesting thing here is because it's AI and you don't actually need to send like a camera crew to an actual place, is you can be very flexible. Like, this is based off of job descriptions. So like the job description here was a doctor for a certain health system. This was an MRI tech. This was a software engineer job description. This was an HVAC tech job description. This was based off of a CDL driver job description. And so you're able to create very specific content to tap into a very specific audience. And that's been one of the main things as far as success on social media, is like your content needs to be very relevant to the audience that you're going after. And so like the person in your videos, should look and feel and sound like, a person that would typically, be in that type of job. And then the nice thing about this too, because it's AI, is you can bring in a lot of diversity as well, where we could see, hey, this is a CDL truck driver and we're going to go after this persona, but then we're going to create a video with this other persona here. And you can be very flexible with bringing in content types that match, what your goal is to go after. And so it's super interesting technology. Again, we've been on the early side to start to test some of this, and early on, like we're seeing really, really good results because of the style of video. And like I'll give examples of like there's this style here that I've shown examples. It's like this UGC style, selfie style versus maybe a 2-minute video highlighting like an employer brand video. You'll tend to see like these very specific videos talking about the position always perform better because it's talking about the specific position and not just like, a TV style video that doesn't really fit within the format of social media. All right, so that's some, actually, I almost forgot. On that note, I'm gonna share a link here with everybody in the chat. If you're curious about like what this could look like, or what videos could look like for your job descriptions, I'm gonna throw something in the chat here to everybody. It's a landing page that I had our marketing team quickly spin up before this webinar. That link right there that I put in the chat, basically there you can throw in like job titles. And what we're going to do, we're going to have this landing page open for a couple days. And then what we'll do is we'll send you an AI video based on the job title or the job description that you send in. So if you're curious about this whole AI video thing and you're just curious about it, feel free to request, send some requests through that landing page and see some examples of what this could look like for your organization. So feel free to navigate to the link in the chat. I think I sent that through. I've done that before where I've only sent a chat to the host and the panelists where I thought I sent it to everybody, but I think I had the setting right here. All right, so let's move on. So we talked about video. Again, summing up the 3 things that are necessary for getting the most out of social media job ads and not wasting your advertising dollars is number 1, the content. So we talked about being explicit for the, like, make sure it's for a specific position and a job title. Make sure your ad copy is around that. Make sure the video that you're using, maybe the photos that you're using for the ad are specific to that position. So the content, make sure you're leveraging an easy apply like experience by leveraging the internal Facebook forms versus sending someone to your career site. And the last thing there is targeting, which is connected to that one. How do you get in front of the right audience? It's actually focusing on the conversion data, being a bit picky about who you're letting apply for your positions, because that will feed into the audience that the Facebook ad algorithm is going after. So this strategy here, this is what we implement every day at Boostpoint. We're seeing huge success leveraging these strategies. We work with companies like USPS to find carriers. We work with Generac. We help them find HVAC technicians. We work with AutoNation, finding auto mechanics. We've worked with a lot of healthcare organizations hiring RNs and other medical staff. So the types of positions that you can be successful with on social media do span quite a bit, anywhere from like super entry level positions, hourly positions, to even like skilled trade positions. The place I usually like throw an asterisk, like the positions that tend to like not do super well are like, executive positions, super high level positions where again, it's just really hard to get in front of like that niche of an audience on Facebook and Instagram. But for the majority of your positions, especially in high volume hiring, Facebook and Instagram, if you implement these things, you'll see success. I'm very confident that you'll see success. I'm going to open it up here for Q&A here in a second. I already see some questions there. So if you have any questions, we're going to take about 10 minutes and jump into that here in a second. I am going to throw another link up here in the chat. If anyone is curious as to how how we can help you implement this. So again, this is what we do every day at Boostpoint. Basically, we simplify all this where you just give us your job descriptions and we take everything from there. So if you want to take out all the headache and make it very plug and play, you can go ahead, schedule a meeting with one of our team members. Something we are offering here just for this webinar, people that attend this webinar, if you schedule a meeting here and you end up getting started, we're going to give you a $500 ad credit for your first campaign. So that's $500 of our money that will help you, that will add to your advertising dollars for your first campaign. And then also a no commitment like trial period. It's not like a free trial, but it's like, it's no long-term commitment. So it's month to month. So you can come and say, hey, I want to try this. Here's my job descriptions. We can usually get things started within a week of like your first, once you say you want to get started, have your job ads up usually within a week of that first meeting, and off to the races. So if you want to see how we could potentially help with this, feel free to schedule a call with one of our team members with that link that I just threw in the chat. All right, I'm excited about Q&A. This is usually my favorite part of these webinars, is where we get to interact with each other. So I am pulling up the questions right now and gonna go through some of these. So first question I have is making sure I understand. Facebook and Instagram ads are better for skilled trades. LinkedIn is better for professional roles like tech, management, etc. Is this accurate? Yes, you're completely right there. That is what we've seen. We've done a lot of testing across platforms, and Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, think that's like really for your hourly roles, high volume hiring. Still, like, skilled trades do super well, but you're not going to do the best like hiring, those high level types of positions. So yes, you're right there. Next question. Okay, do you recommend using AI to help create paragraphs and info to share on a post? Great question. So AI, we talked some about that with like video. Well, what about the text? How much can you lean into AI for that? Yes, I'm a big believer that you can use AI to assist with a lot of this. One of the reasons I really love AI for talent acquisition marketing is because recruitment marketing, TA marketing tends to be a little like under-supported, I'll put it that way, from like a marketing perspective. It's not like you always have a content writer that you can knock on their door and say, hey, like I have a Facebook ad, can I get this by the end of day? And so this is where AI tools can really come into play to help assist for content generation on social media. The big caveat here is implementing AI, you want to make sure you do it the right way. So your prompt engineering and things like that, you want to make sure you're honing that in. I usually use this example. It's like, okay, if you're getting, a AI to ChatGPT to write like a Facebook post, don't just say, hey, get me a Facebook post for an RN position. Like if with that vanilla of like a prompt, you're going to get a very vanilla post where it's like, maybe give it, the full job description, so that it has the context of the, what's unique in this position, and then add some color to the prompt. So yes, big favor. I'm a big fan of using AI for content, for ads. It's just make sure you implement it in the right way and always double check it, as well. Going to a couple more questions here and keep them coming if you have any specific questions. Okay, so provide metrics. There's a question, if we can provide, metrics for a certain industry. So some of what we're seeing right now, like if it, again, key metrics usually for our customers is like one of the key ones is cost per applicant. Like, what are we seeing there? Like in the, like for RNs, where I'm gonna throw a couple examples here. I'm not, I know I was looking at some of the people that registered. There's a lot in like healthcare. There's some of the skilled trades. So I'll just throw out some of the metrics that we're seeing with social media. So like RNs, we're typically seeing anywhere from like $15 to $25 cost per applicant. Like HVAC techs, we're around $15 to $20. Caregiver, we do a ton in the home health space. Right there, we're usually $9 to $10 per applicant. And again, these are usually pretty qualified candidates as well. Like, what are some other ones? Mechanics, we're usually seeing anywhere from like $15 to $20 range as far as cost per applicant. So, Anyway, if there's anyone on this, webinar that's curious about like, well, what about my industry? If I didn't hit on any of those, feel free to schedule a meeting with us, and we can give you some industry specific data for you. What's my opinion on hashtags? Hashtags, it doesn't really do much for the ad algorithm. In Facebook, hashtags I really recommend like for organic posting. So again, what we talk about here is specific like paid advertising on Facebook and Instagram. There's a whole other strategy around organic. So this would be like posting to your careers page on Facebook or Instagram with organic content. There that can be a lot more employer branding stuff mixed in with some position specific ads. Hashtags have a little bit more of like value if on the organic strategy. Ads, it's not like it hinders your ad at all, but like we've seen using hashtags, not using hashtags, it usually doesn't do much with the advertising metrics like cost per applicant, cost per 1,000 impressions, and things like that. Best platform for social ads for tech roles. We've seen some success with Facebook and Instagram in transparency. Like, if you're looking for high level software engineers, we haven't seen a ton of success with like Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. If you're really measuring with like cost per applicant versus like job boards, it's been a little bit more difficult. It's a great place like if you're willing to invest in employer branding, that still really comes into play. High level tech positions tend to be a little bit of a challenge. I will say like lower level tech positions tend to do pretty well though. Going through a couple more here, a couple more questions. How often, here's a good question. How often should I post about job openings? So the nice thing about job ads, if you're using like paid ads on social, is you can have as many live as you want, and it doesn't really matter. It's not like you're posting to Indeed where it's like, okay, you want to post a job every so often and that'll help with the algorithm. Really how this works for social is like, hey, I have this job, I have this post, I am going to create the ad, post it on Facebook. It's not showing up on your wall, on your like Facebook page, but it's just showing up in front of specific people that we're paying to get in front of. And so it's more just like the things that really matter there are like budget per day, like how much money per day you're spending. And that's going to determine how many people you're getting in front of and how efficient your ad is. Do you recommend better knockout questions that would limit the amount of candidates clicking yes and error? So if you're really wanting to do this well, you can layer a couple things on. Like one, each job tends to have a couple like requirement questions, and so again, having 2 or 3 of those instead of one will really help. Another thing is mixing in like an open text question really helps as well. So you might have some yes and no questions, but then you could also throw in a question like, hey, well, like what motivates you to want to take a position like this as well. So you can add different types of questions as well. Having a mixture of those really helps for qualification. I'm gonna get to one more question here and then we're gonna wrap up. All right, so I got a really good specific example here. I'm recruiting a CNC machinist. How do we keep it in a very local community? Can we keep it very local area, maybe a 45? Okay, so this is a great specific example. So CNC machinist, like how would I do that on Facebook? Specifically worried about like keeping it in the local community. So one of the first things that you're setting when you're launching an ad is your radius, the geography of where you want this ad to show up. And Facebook does this by like, okay, people like have the app on Facebook, and Facebook, through the location service, that it's pretty accurate as far as like, hey, if I say like we're in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, if I say I want a 45-mile radius within the city of Lancaster, it's usually pretty accurate that that's the only place this ad is shown, is within that radius. You can, every once in a while, like you'll have stuff, outside of that area, but usually what we see is 95, 98% like of the advertising dollars are spent specifically in that local area. So hope that helps for that question there as well. All right, we are going to wrap up. Thank you everybody for spending some of your Thursday afternoon with me here today. Again, if anyone is interested in like taking a closer look into how our company, how our software and services can help you, just like a plug and play version of this, feel free to jump in the chat there or on our website and schedule a call with us. Otherwise, thanks everybody for taking some time, and hope everyone has a great rest of the week and rest of January. We're about to wrap up January. Excited about that. All right, everybody. Thanks.